Once upon a time there was a wealthy merchant who had 3 daughters. The youngest of the daughters was called Beauty. The sisters did not like her because she was everyone's favorite. One day the father was going to go to the city and asked his daughters what to bring as a gift. The older sisters asked for precious dresses and adornments, and the youngest asked for a scarlet rose, the most beautiful in the world. The merchant became thoughtful, but promised that he would do everything possible to find such a flower, and hit the road. The father quickly found gifts for the eldest daughters, but for the youngest he could not find them. Each rose that the merchant met on his way was more beautiful than the previous one, wherever he was looking. And then the road led him into a dense forest. It was very dark and cold there. Suddenly lights appeared in the distance. Approaching, the merchant saw a huge ancient castle, all in gold and diamonds. Entering its gate, he entered a hall full of jewels. He saw that there was a table in the middle of the hall, and there were no dishes on it, and all the dishes were made of silver and gold. But the castle was empty, there was no one. The merchant thought that the owner would probably come any minute. He waited an hour, 2, 3, no one showed up. The merchant could not resist and sat down at the table. Having eaten from the belly, the old man hit the road. Driving along the alley, the merchant saw a rose bush of unprecedented beauty, and remembered the request of his youngest daughter. He drove up and picked the most beautiful rose. At the same moment, lightning flashed, thunder struck, there was a roar, and rose, as if out of the ground, in front of the merchant, and not a beast or a man, but some kind of monster, terrible and furry. It was too angry that the merchant picked his favorite flower instead of thanking the owner for his hospitality. The old man was very frightened and said that he would do anything, as long as he did not kill him. For such an offense, the beast agreed to marry one of his daughters. But only the one who wants to come herself, out of love for her father. And if none comes, then death to the merchant. The old man was grieving and decided to go home to say goodbye to his daughters. He did not want to give up any of them for a fierce beast. I got on my horse and went home. Having met the children, he gave gifts to everyone and told about his adventures. The older sisters pounced on the younger, they say, it was her fault she ordered a lousy flower, for which the father now has to pay with his life. To which Beauty replied that she would gladly go to the beast instead of her father. And so, the next day, Beauty hit the road. The horse quickly found its way back to the castle. Entering the hall, she found a table with exquisite wines and food. Beauty thought that the beast wanted to eat her, so she feeds her. As soon as she had dinner, there was a roar, and a terrible and hairy monster appeared, as if from under the ground. And the beast said to Beauty that since she herself came here of her own free will, it means that she has a good heart. And so the monster will also be kind to her. And with these words, the beast disappeared. Waking up in the morning, Beauty decided to take a walk. Entering one of the rooms, she saw an inscription on the table, "Whatever the beauty wishes, I will do." The girl thought that after all the monster is kind and probably he is not going to eat it. So they lived for a long time. The beast treated Beauty very well and fulfilled all her desires. One day the girl dreamed that her father was sick. She really wanted to visit him. The Beauty tearfully asked the beast to let her go and promised that she would definitely come back. The monster replied that she was free and could return whenever she wanted. The next day, Beauty put on her most expensive clothes and went to her father. He was very happy to see his daughter safe and sound. Her sisters came running and saw that she had become even more beautiful, and even dressed like a queen. A week later, Beauty had a dream that the Beast was lying on the grass in the park and dying. She woke up in horror and decided to urgently return and cure him. When the girl approached the castle, she saw the lifeless body of the Beast on the grass. Her heart was breaking with pity. The Beauty rushed to him with tears and kissed him. And at the same moment lightning flashed, thunder struck, the whole castle was lit up with a bright light, and music played everywhere. The monster disappeared, and in its place the most charming prince lay on the grass. He told Beauty that this evil fairy had bewitched him and turned him into a monster, until a young beautiful girl fell in love with him and wanted to get married. The Beauty gave him her hand, and they went to the castle. The next day, Beauty and the prince got married and healed happily ever after. This is how a good heart can break an evil spell.
In one small town there lived a toy maker, Geppetto.
Hello!
He made a living selling homemade wooden toys. He liked his work. The only thing the old master regretted was that he had no children. One day, while walking in the woods, Geppetto saw an excellent log for new toys. He took the log with him and brought it to the workshop. Immediately, without delay, the old man began to cut a toy out of him. But suddenly he heard a thin voice from the log. Geppetto thought what he imagined. He continued to carve the toy, and after a while he heard the voice again. Geppetto decided that he was simply getting too old and began to hear strange voices.
Oh no!
The old man continued to work. First, he made the doll's head. Then arms and legs appeared. Geppetto finished the doll and sat her down in a chair. And he decided to clean up after himself. And at that moment he heard the voice again. Geppetto froze and looked around. But there was no one in the room except a wooden doll. The old man continued his work. And suddenly, the doll jumped up from the chair. Geppetto was speechless. When he realized that his doll came to life, he decided to give her a name. And he named him Pinocchio. Geppetto and Pinocchio lived merrily together. It's time to send your son to school. Geppetto lived poorly and had no money for school supplies for Pinocchio. He decided to sell his jacket and gave the money to the boy. Pinocchio took the money and happily hurried to school. Suddenly, he saw a crowd of people. To find out what was happening, the boy squeezed forward and saw in front of him a huge colored tent. It was a circus. The clown stood in front of the entrance and barked visitors. Pinocchio became very interested in what was inside. But the clown would not let him in, because the boy did not have a ticket. Pinocchio took money out of his pocket and gave it to the clown. Going inside the tent, the boy saw how funny dolls were playing a performance on the stage. At the same time, the owner of the circus noticed Pinocchio. He was very happy to see a living doll and decided to take Pinocchio into his performance. As soon as the show was over, the owner of the circus caught the boy and put him in a cage. Pinocchio was very upset that he did not obey his father and did not go to school. He burst into tears. And suddenly, a fairy appeared in front of him. She saw that Pinocchio greatly regretted his deed and decided to save him. The fairy cast a spell, and Pinocchio was on the street with money in his hands. He headed to school again. On the way, Pinocchio met a blind cat and a cunning fox. When they found out that the boy had money, the cat and the fox decided to take it. They said that this money is not enough for school supplies and it needs to be increased. And for this they need to plant money in a magic field. A money tree should grow from the earth, from which a generous monetary harvest could be reaped. The naive Pinocchio believed the scammers and gave his money. When the boy was left alone and without money, the fairy appeared in front of him again. Pinocchio lied to the fairy and said he had already bought school supplies. As soon as he said this, his nose began to grow. The more Pinocchio lied, the longer his nose became. He was very scared and told the fairy the whole truth. At the same instant, the boy's nose shrank to normal size. The fairy warned that every time Pinocchio cheated, his nose would enlarge. After these words, the boy again found himself on his way to school with money in his hands. Suddenly, the owner of the circus blocked the road to Pinocchio. He was terribly angry that the boy was able to escape and wanted to put him back in the cage. But Pinocchio was not easy to catch. Without hesitation, he jumped into the water. Pinocchio was made of wood, so he didn't drown. And the current carried the boy forward. When he was already swimming to the shore, a giant fish swallowed him. At the same time, desperate to look for his son on land, old man Geppetto decided to start searching on the water. He borrowed a small boat from a fisherman friend and swam to look. Suddenly a violent storm began. The boat could not cope with the waves and crashed. The old man could not swim and therefore began to drown. And then, a huge fish that swallowed Pinocchio swallowed Geppetto. When he got inside, he immediately saw his son. Seeing his father, Pinocchio was very happy. He was very sorry that he had not obeyed and promised from that moment to always do as his father told him. Seeing that Pinocchio was truly sorry, the fairy decided to save them. She freed the boy and the old man from the belly of the fish and carried them to the shore. Pinocchio became a very intelligent and obedient boy. He went to school every day, and after studying he helped his father in the workshop.